Hare Ganga Mahadev Sri Shankara Parvati Pati Mahadev Sri Shankara.
Namaste, it's Sahara Rose, and welcome back to the Highest Self podcast, a place where we discuss what makes you your soul's highest evolvement. I know this is the year that you are calling in a career that radically expresses your truth, where you are sharing your passion for wellness and spirituality in a way that you are handsomely rewarded for, that you are someone that wants to create a career helping others while having the freedom of time in your schedule. Well, if this is you, then this opportunity is calling your name. I'm inviting you to join me at my alma mater, Institute for Integrative Nutrition, in their biggest and baddest scholarship of $2,250 off tuition, as well as bonus webinars with me where I will be teaching you business strategies, how to create a thriving business as a health coach, and so much more. If you don't necessarily want to be a holistic health coach and be an entrepreneur in that way, there are so many different career avenues you can go down with your degree at IIN. You can create your own product line or work at a doctor's office, a spa, retreat center, school, so much more. I would not be here sharing with you on this podcast if I had not signed up for IIN. Before IIN, I never thought that I would be able to have a career helping others and teaching what I loved. I always thought that I would have to sacrifice somewhere. And because I joined IIN, I was able to see that I was going to be creating all of that: books, podcasts, speaking, so much more. None of this would have been possible had I not started at IIN. So I'm so grateful to be able to share with you this entirely massive and life-changing scholarship, bonuses, discounts with you exclusively this month. So if you're interested in learning more, head over to my show notes. You'll find the link right there. It's iamsahararose.com. You'll find on the bottom it says become a health coach. You'll get all the information, the link, everything, and I'm so excited to support you and have you on this journey of becoming a holistic health coach. Again, you can just find that link in the show description right here, and I will see you inside. I was recently doing a special talk with a friend's mastermind, and one of the questions came up about how can I trust my spiritual gifts? How do I even know if I have them? How do I start using them and leading with them? And I want to talk a little bit into that because I think that this is an issue, a question that many listeners have, because you guys are extremely intuitive. You are connected to your spirit. You wouldn't be listening to this podcast if you weren't. And if it's your first time listening, I'm telling you something that you may not have even known in yourself. And maybe you do. And maybe you know you're here for a greater purpose, but you're just not sure what that purpose is. So I just want to speak deeply into how we can trust our spiritual gifts. So I believe that all spiritual gifts come differently, and that is because Source needed us to experience it in a different way. So some of us have the gift to see things. We are clairvoyant, people who say, and then I saw white light coming down and I saw these colors. I saw the colors of their aura. I saw their chakras swirling. I saw an image of my grandma. I saw this, I saw that. Well, if you are someone that sees things, you are a highly visual person, this means clairvoyance is one of your gifts. So clairvoyance essentially means clear seeing. So that is one of the gifts, and I'll talk a little bit more about all of them. If you are someone that maybe you just have a feeling in your body, like you can pick up on other people's emotions. You can pick up on when someone is sad or angry or ecstatic. In fact, you feel it in yourself. You are feeling in your own body what other people are experiencing. So if that is the case for you, you are clairsentient. Clairsentient means clear feeling. You are someone who is easily able to pick up on how people truly feel, even if they're not telling it. Even if they're saying, I'm fine, you can feel that they are not. And sometimes the difficult thing about that is you might trickle into the very deep empath category where it can become crutching. It can become like you're not sure which emotions are yours and which are someone else's. But when you have that clairsentience first, just extremely empathic, you're able to differentiate your emotions between someone else's. You're able to cleanse yourself and get out of it. So that's clairsentient. Then you have clairaudient. So you are someone that hears things. When people say, I heard a little voice inside my head that said, go do this, or stop doing that, or break up with this person. It almost feels like it is someone else's voice, or maybe it's your own voice. So a lot of mediums are like this. They're hearing things. They're hearing your uncle talking to you. They're saying, oh, it's noisy in here. So it depends on your unique gift, but you might be hearing sounds. You might be hearing an orchestra. And in the episode of You're Not Crazy or Awakening with Amber, she said she would hear angels have a complete orchestras. So definitely clairaudience is one of her gifts. So you might hear spirit voices, you might hear music, you might just hear words in your mind. So then you know you have some clairaudience happening. And also that can make you feel a little bit crazy. You're like, oh my God, I'm hearing things. Like I've really lost it. But that's just your spiritual gift and it's harnessing that. Now you might have claircognizance. So claircognizance is the one that I actually experience. And that is the gift of just knowing. You don't really know where you know it from. You never really were told it. You were never reading about it, etc. You can just know it to be true in your body. So this is different than clairsentient. So clairsentient is like picking up on people's emotions. Like, oh, I feel sadness. I feel anger. I feel this. I feel that. Whereas claircognizance is like that person is angry. I'm not feeling the anger myself. I'm not picking up on the anger myself, but I know that they're angry. For me, it's just a lot of like knowing, Ayurveda. I didn't read everything that I wrote in my book. I was channeling it. I was just looking out the window and just channeling source, and the wisdom, exact Ayurvedic terms, the dhatus, the koshas, etc., were coming through because I was channeling it. So that's the claircognizance. It's information that exists within me from my many past lives. So claircognizance is this feeling of, we've all had this of just like, I know you're lying, or I know something's fishy, or I know that this is the truth, or I know that this person's about to call. You don't know where you know it from, but it feels to be true. And there are some other clairs that people don't talk about that much. So clairalient is clear smelling. So someone who might smell the perfume of a loved one who's passed away, or, smell something that reminds them of their childhood. And they're actually able to communicate with spirit through smell. So maybe when they're picking up on something, again, I see a lot of mediums like, okay, I smell alcohol. Was someone an alcoholic in your family? And, they're able to smell the alcohol on that spirit, even though clearly there's no alcohol around. And then there's clairgustance, which is clear tasting. So the ability to actually be able to pick up on the tastes of something happening, not just, okay, think about a lemon, your mouth is watering. That does, naturally happen physiologically to us, but maybe you're picking up on, I taste chocolate in my mouth. Is this person you're speaking about, do they love chocolate? Or, oh, I taste something off. I taste something metallic or sour or fishy. You're getting the information through taste. So I think that a really important place to start, and that's why I want to keep this podcast episode really short and really sweet, is first understanding which gifts do you have. Is it clairvoyance? Is it something you see? Is it clair feeling? Is it something you feel? Clairsentient? Is it clairaudience? Something you hear? Is it claircognizant? Something you just know? Clairalience? Something you smell? Clairgustant? Something you taste. So those are what the clairs are. Now, what do we do about them? Well, this is where trust comes in. You can have an inclination of feeling like, okay, I know I have some clairsentience. I know I have some clairvoyance. I know I have this, but you're not actually living your life based off of it. And that just means you haven't fully trusted it yet. So what I recommend people do is just to try it out on a smaller scale. So maybe with a friend of yours, you tell them, I'm just practicing my intuitive abilities right now. Can you think about something? I'm going to name 3 people, think about one of them. And then you begin to intuitively guess which person they're thinking about. Or, if someone comes into the room in your family and they're feeling something, say, I'm feeling like there's a little bit of grief today. is that true in your experience? And then they can tell you yes or no, or, it's actually not grief I'm experiencing, it's sadness, or it's anger, or it's longing, or whatever it is. And this feedback helps you get better. So it's really important for us to trust ourselves enough to try it out with other people and get that feedback, because that feedback allows us to become better and better and better. And then we know how spirit works through us. So maybe every time, you pick up on someone's grief, you experience a knot in your stomach. And every time it's fear, it's a stabbing sensation in your back. And every time it's worry, it's something in your head. And then you're able to pick up on what are your unique signals and your unique codes that you could trust. Okay, every time it's been this, it's felt like that. And then With claircognizance, which is what I experience, is, before when I would meet people, I would kind of have this information about them, and I wasn't sure if it was my own judgment. I'm just making the stuff up out of the thin air, or it's actually based in the truth. So that's why I began to tell people what I started to pick up on them. So I would be like, I'm really picking up on you moving in this direction in your business, or I'm really picking up on you moving. And, I would just tell them. And sometimes they would say, no, that's not really true. But most of the times they would be like, oh my goddess, how did you know that? So that's why I wanted to share this podcast episode with you, because you are probably definitely someone that has intuitive abilities, whether you know about it or not, whether you've claimed it or not, they exist inside of you. We are human radios. We are always picking up on energy. And our dharma is to figure out how energy flows through us. Is it through seeing? Is it through hearing? Is it through feeling? Is it through knowing, tasting, smelling? And again, it all comes down to trust. The reason why we are not actually speaking our truths or trusting our instincts, etc., is because we have been taught systemically not to trust ourselves, that we need proof, or that doesn't make sense. And I grew up with my dad, who's extremely mathematic and scientific, saying, be rational, not emotional. So when you're brought up with that, and whether your parents explicitly said that or something like that, of don't cry, or you're crazy for thinking that, etc., it's actually teaching you to turn off your antenna instead of turning it back on. So you can be rational and emotional. Your emotions are how you ration. Your knowing, even if it's not written in a textbook, is your divine knowing. You seeing things doesn't make you crazy. It means that you are able to connect to the unseen. I mean, if we even told people, there are these rays in the atmosphere that are going to give us information through our cell phones and our computers, they'd be like, first of all, what's a cell phone on computer? Second of all, what are you talking about? Information rays that are going to move? You're out of your mind. You're crazy. You're delusional. What are you saying? And as we all know, that is Wi-Fi. That is data network. We clearly... Everywhere you go now, you can't even go somewhere without Wi-Fi. But previously they would say, how can information travel in the air that we cannot see? So there are many things that we cannot see with the human mind. I've done another podcast episode on how science is actually behind spirit. If I told you that there was going to be a box that you press a button and in 1 minute your food is going to be just as heated if you heat it up for 10 minutes on the stove, you'd say I'm crazy. That's called a microwave. So I'm not saying that all of this technology is great. I don't really use a microwave, but it exists. There are ultra rays, which are UV rays. There are X rays, gamma rays. There's so many rays that exist that our eyes cannot see. So how can we say that now we know everything? Science can stop now because now we know everything. It's going to continue to progress. And, our kids are going to be like, how did you not know about clairvoyance and clairaudience? How is that not taught to you? You're so ancient, because it's soon going to just be a readily agreed upon topic that we are all receiving energy. We are all channels. We are all human radios, and we're all picking up on energy in different ways. And it's going to be taught in schools. The public school system is going to have a class of what type of clair are you, and you're going to learn about it from the time you were a child, and you're going to learn how to trust it. And then instead of, honors in curriculum 1 and 2, they're going to put you into clairvoyance class, clairaudience class, clairsentient class, and you're going to learn how to use these different skills. And maybe there's a different track for the people who are clairvoyant instead of clairsentient, etc. That's where the future is going. 100%. Trust my claircognizance. I know. And I didn't even know this until I started speaking it. So that's how I really know, because it's coming through me. It's not coming through my mind. It's coming through source. So again, A lot of us have nudges like this. That was a perfect example. You could say, oh, well, I don't know if that's true. I never read a book. I never read an article about this Claire thing in the class, so I'm not going to say it, but I can feel it to be true. I know it to be true, even though I've never heard anyone say it. I've never read it online. You could say I just made it up right now. Okay? But when it happens and you're gonna be like, I heard about this on a podcast 20 years ago, you're gonna know what's up. It was my claircognizance coming out, which was the information coming from source. So we all have the ability to do this, but most of us don't do it because we don't want to bullshit. We don't want to make things up. We don't want to say things that we don't have factual information for. I'm not saying make up the dates for World War II. I'm not saying like make up like specific information on chemistry that might not be true, but maybe you have some innovations in chemistry or perspectives on World War II that your intuition is telling you that maybe the textbooks are not. So it's time to invite spirit into our lives. It's time to trust how spirit is communicating with us. It's time to allow ourselves to speak it and see that we're safe. I think a huge thing is we don't feel like we're safe to be spiritual, as we talked about in the episode with Mia Magic about embodying your inner witch archetype. But so many of us are so afraid of being burnt at the stake, saying the wrong thing, being persecuted, because that literally was our history here, not just in this country, but around the world. And there still are witch hunts in different places that if someone was saying something, a little spiritual, a little mystical, a little out of the norm, they were hung, they were crucified, they were burnt. So this fear is like existing in our DNA and we feel like it's not safe, And I still see witch hunts happen, not in the same way, but like when someone says something, Deepak Chopra is someone who had to suffer from this so much because he was saying things that scientists had not yet realized, like in the 80s, talking about meditation and oneness and mantras and that there's no such thing as a coincidence and Dharma and all of these beautiful topics that now there's so much science and data to back up, but because he was talking about this before a time that data had existed, because he was a visionary bringing in ancient wisdom, they called him a witch doctor. They called him crazy. They called him delusional. They called him a fraud, a charlatan, all of these horrible things because he was just speaking so far beyond people's peripheries. Now, it's not because he is the only one with that knowledge, but he was one of the people brave enough to speak it. And you are someone who is also brave enough to speak it. You are someone who is going to share it. You are someone who is going to be the light and is not going to let other people's fear and insecurities and dogma get in your way of raising human consciousness. So I'm so proud of you. I'm so excited for the work that you are doing in the world. Thank you for stepping up. Thank you for shining your light. Thank you for being the change. Thank you for trusting your intuitive gifts. Thank you for not taking them for granted. Thank you for using them to elevate the consciousness of others. Thank you for creating innovations that humankind really needs. Thank you for creating our school system in the way that it was always meant to be. Thank you for bringing health and consciousness into our hospitals and into our pharmaceutical industry. Thank you for changing the way that we eat and that we see foods and we see our connections with animals and the environment. Thank you for changing our fashion industry and dissolving fast fashion and instead of creating sustainability. Thank you, thank you, thank you for shining your light, for trusting yourself. I'm so grateful for you. It already has happened because time doesn't exist. And the moment that you've decided and the moment that you've chosen to up level, it's already happened. So thank you for stepping up. And I'm so honored to be walking on this human path with you. If you'd like to connect, learn from me, join a community of 2,000 spiritual sisters, I invite you to join Rose Gold Goddesses, my sacred sisterhood collective, all about becoming your highest self with monthly goddesses, workshops, webinars, content, so much more. This is the highest vibe community on the internet, and I'm so excited to invite you. You can learn more about it at rosegoldgoddesses.com. You can find the link in the show notes, and I'll see you over there. If you loved this episode, I would love if you could leave me a review in the iTunes store. And as a free gift, I will share with you the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. Simply email a screenshot of your review over to Sahara at eatfeelfresh.com. Again, Sahara, Sahara, at eatfeelfresh.com, and I will send you over the first half of my unreleased book, Eat Right for Your Mind Body Type. Thank you and namaste.